Alright kids, welcome back. This video I'm going to show how to create a symmetrical image using the mirror command where you only have to draw half of the image. And then I'm going to show an array where if you have something that is symmetrical in a circle, you can use the polar array command to only draw one little piece of it and then copy it in a circle. My cat here is joining us, Aiko, Maine Coon. He's sitting on the chair next to me, so you may hear him meowing in the background, or you may hear me tell him to stop chewing on my cords. Here we go. So I'm going to start with the symmetrical one because that's going to go pretty quick, and I'm going to speed things up here. So here we go. I'll start with the line L spacebar, and that should be pretty straightforward. I'm going to try to, I'll start at the top. I'm going to try to make it pretty well centered. I always hold my breath for those. It helps. And I want to make sure it's a vertical line. I'm not snapping to the vertical, so I know one of my snaps is off. I'll turn on my polar tracking and snap to the vertical. And I'll make this longer than I need. There, spacebar. Make a spline, SPL, spacebar. And I will start right here. And I'm going to do this in sections because the spline does not do sharp corners. That's grabbing that polar tracking. I want to click slightly to the right, so I'll turn that off. And I will make this line longer than I need to. I do it longer than I need to on purpose, spacebar, so that I can see it and go back and trim it later. If you just make it barely longer than you need, sometimes it's hard to see that you need to trim it later. So I make it longer than I need it. I will make another spline command. I just did spline command, so I'll just hit spacebar to bring up the same command. I'll make this longer than I need, so it's easier to tell that I need to trim it later. And I'll continue to go around and spline this, make that longer than I need to. Spacebar, spacebar. Just a reminder, if you do, you can see the endpoint popping up. If I click here, it's going to make my spline pop to that. So you can undo, and then I'm going to go down and turn off my O snaps, remembering that I'm going to have to turn that back on later, probably when I go to mirror my line. All right, so just fly in here. Oops, zoom out. Feel free to take your time. I don't want this movie to take forever like the last one, so I'm trying to speed up for you just a little bit longer than I need. Spacebar, spacebar. Hopefully we've got a handle on that by now, longer than I need. I'm just going to show you something at the top here. It's best to try to make your spline, when you hit that mirror line, which is in underneath, try to make that, I'm trying to make that as vertical as possible. Not vertical, as horizontal as possible, right at the top. So right here where it hits that mirror line, I want that line to be horizontal. I'm going to show you why. I'm going to make it not horizontal. Whatever you do, don't make it point down. If you make it point up a little bit, that's okay. Horizontal is perfect. I'm going to make it point up and show you why that's not a good thing. And I'll also show you how to fix that. Spacebar. All right, now my line is in underneath this image, which can be frustrating. So I'm going to right click, isolate, isolate objects, select objects. Okay. Sorry, don't worry about that. I'm just trying to get that line on top, which is good. It's kind of underneath the photo, which is frustrating. Okay, so I've got those images. I need to TR spacebar spacebar to trim. I'll go in and trim all of these extra bits and pieces. You can trim with the highlight tool, which speeds things up. And then for this bottom one, I have to hold the shift key to extend, release the shift key to trim. If I pan, you can see my beautiful tree. I'll trim the top in a minute here. So we're escape out of this, time to mirror. MI, there it is, spacebar, tells me to select objects. So I will select the objects I want to mirror. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't want that vertical line. It's in the drawing, but I wouldn't want that on my sticker. Spacebar to move on. Specify the first point of mirror line. That's what it says. So I want to snap to the top of this. Now remember, my object snap is turned off, so I'll have to go in and turn that back on. Click the top there, and you can see the other half of the tree coming in here. I'll click the bottom. Erase source objects pops up. If I click left, if I click yes, it will erase everything on the left. If I click no, it will keep everything. So I want to keep everything, so I will click no. I will delete this center line. Click it, click delete. I'll go in TR, spacebar, spacebar, trim these puppies, spacebar, sorry, escape to exit the trim command. You can see why it's important to have that symmetrical line at the top, horizontal. Right? At the bottom, we had a perfectly horizontal line, so it's perfect at the bottom, but at the top, we got a little bit of a point going on there. And if that had been facing down, it would have been like the top of a heart, right? Which is no good. So we can fix that. But if that had been horizontal, we wouldn't need to do this next step. The next step is we need to round this corner. Okay, so the button for that is up here. It's called fillet. I'm going to go down and just type F for fillet, spacebar. And now if I click on these, what I want to do is round that corner. So down here, I know already I need to adjust the radius. When you, I already have a radius set here. When you first do a radius command, a fillet command, sorry, your radius is going to be set to 0. So I'm going to escape. I'm going to show you what it's going to be like when you set yours up. So F for fillet. There we go. And down here, it's going to say radius 0.00000. If I select the first object like it tells me to, and then select the second object, nothing's going to happen because my radius is set to 0. So I'm going to go into fillet, and I need to set that radius, this radius here, before I select the two objects. I need to go down and click radius, and I need to put in a radius here to round this. Now, I don't know, well, I do know because I've done this before, but you're not going to know what the radius of your corner is. So we have to go in and we have to measure it. So I'm going to escape out of the fillet command. I'm going to zoom out, pan down just a bit. I'm going to grab the 2-point circle. So remember C for circle, spacebar, and then 2-point. And I'm going to go in and I'm going to click the top. I'm not going to worry about this corner. Okay, I'm going to go in and I'm going to click the very top of this circle. I'm going to find the radius of this circle. Now right now, the number that's popping up is the diameter of the circle. Not a big deal. Polar tracking. What I want to find is the diameter, and I'll just divide it by 2. Okay, so here we go. The diameter looks like it's pretty close to 10. This is why I had the radius in there as 5 as already, because that's what I was doing this before. Diameter is pretty close to 10, so we know the radius is going to be 5. So I'm going to hit escape. We've got that radius number. That's all we need. F for fillet, spacebar, radius. I can set that as 5, spacebar. Now I can select the first line, select the center line, second line, go in there, and booyah, tell me that's not a beautiful, beautiful intersection right there. Okay, I hit escape a couple times. That's looking pretty good. We're going to go in and polar array this object next, and this is going to take a little bit of time. So if you just needed the mirror line and you don't have anything like this, feel free to stop the movie now. I'm not going to show anything else useful. I'm just going to, well, unless you're drawing something like this where you have to copy around in a circle. So if you don't need to copy around in a circle, go ahead, save, whatever, close this video, get back to work on whatever you're working on. If this is something that interests you or something that you need, continue watching. All right, here we go. Center is a 6-sided polygon, multi-sided object, also known as a hexagon. So I'm going to go up here. I want to create this. This will look like this for you, rectangle. I want to click the drop-down menu, click polygon. It says enter the number of sides. It's already set to 6, which is good. So I'll just hit spacebar. And specify the center of the polygon. I don't know where the center is. I'd be guessing. So I want to grab the edge. Asks for the first endpoint of the edge. So how accurate you are with this determines how perfect your array ends up being. So definitely zoom in, take your time. And we want this to line up best we can. That polar tracking is getting in the way. And that is pretty good to me. It's obviously not perfect. This image might not be perfectly symmetrical, but that will work for me. Now we're going to go in and, no surprise here, SPL for spline, spacebar. I'm going to grab the end of this. I'm just going to copy, instead of drawing all, it's broken up into 6 sides, 6 sets of 2 leaves. I'm just going to draw 1 set and then copy them. So I'm going to make this a little longer than I need. Spacebar, spacebar. I'm going to start down here. I'm going to copy this. Sorry, not copy. I'm going to spline this all the way up. And I'm a little bit rushed here, so that's not perfect, but we'll go with it. One more. That's one more before the next one. Okay. The midpoint was getting in the way a little bit, but not to worry. Got a little bit of a vertical patch, so I'll make a couple little points there. Make it longer than I need, spacebar. Right, now I can go in TR, spacebar, spacebar. I can trim some of these excess. Some of that excess, that looks pretty good. Hit escape. Now it's time to array in a circle. Now your array button is going to look like this. So you're going to hit the drop down menu next to that and go down to polar array. All right, now we have one more step we have to do, but I'm going to show you what this looks like first. Select your objects, hit spacebar, and it asks for the center point of the array. Now I don't have a center point of the array. It would be the center point here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to exit out of this. I'm going to L spacebar for a line. I'm going to select, I'm going to make a center point and spacebar to end that. So our base point for our array is going to be the center point of that line. So we'll try this again. I'll hit the polar array button. We'll select our objects. We'll hit spacebar. And we can specify the center point of that array. Now, your midpoint might not show up as a snap. I've turned mine on. If I right click here on OSnap, for you midpoint might be turned off, so you might have to go in and turn on midpoint, and then you just click anywhere off the menu for that to go away, and then you should be able to snap to that midpoint. So I will snap to that midpoint, and voila, we got a whole bunch of stuff pops up here. At the top here we got some options. There we go. We can change the number of items, or at 6 we can have 4 if we want. Now for those changes to take effect, you have to click down on your model space, and it's kind of hard to tell, but I now only have 4. That image in behind getting in the way a bit. I can change it to, you know, 100 and click down here to make it take effect. That's a lot, right? But we only want 6. You can change the fill, so if you only want it on, you know, half the image, 180 degrees, you can change that from 360 the whole way around to 180, or if you just want 1/4 of that done, you can just do 6 images along, you know, 90 degrees or something. That's enough of that. We'll close array. You can see it doesn't line up perfectly. That has to do with the center point of our array, but as a sticker, it will work. It'll work pretty good once we get rid of that image in behind, which I'll show in the next video. So we need to trim a bunch of these lines. That's the next step, but we're going to run into a problem, and I'll show it to you. So TR, spacebar, spacebar, and zoom in. It's not going to let me trim this line. McDonald, it doesn't let me trim. That's okay. Hit escape. Okay, zoom out. just if I click on this image, you're going to find something funky kind of happens, right? The whole array is selected. So it's no longer splines, a bunch of splines. It's now one giant line, polyline, all connected. I'm going to close that. We need to separate this back into its separate lines. In order to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to explode it. So we're going to type explode, EX, here it is, explode. I'm going to select the array, and then I'm going to hit spacebar. That's going to explode it. Now you can see I can select individual lines again. So now I can go in TR, spacebar, spacebar. I can go in there and I can trim all of these excess lines that we don't need. And it's going to take a minute, but it will be a lot faster than... Yeah, you can see this is off by quite a bit here. That's just due to the image not being perfectly symmetrical, or the angles not being perfect, or probably the center point of my array isn't perfectly lined up with the center point of their array, is most likely. But I don't care. When I cut it out, that image in beneath is not going to exist, and it's going to look great, and no one will ever know unless they watch this movie, in which case everyone will know. But if everyone knows, then I'll be famous, and I'll be living in my big house on a private island, and it won't matter. All right. There we go. So I'll hit escape to stop trimming. I'll delete the center line. And tell me that's not beautiful, eh? Well, don't tell me it's not beautiful. That would hurt my feelings. But I think that's well done. So I'll save that, and I will see you later.